Hello, welcome to the video for step 4. Step 4 is a very, very important step because it deals with how many people we need to speak to each week and how to generate inquiries. So it's a kind of fundamental building block of a successful, clean, easy business. These days, it's very, very easy. It tends to be done on the internet. Pretty much all of it is on the internet, and which is great. The video that I'm going to do today will cover the basic parameters of step 4. In other words, how many people should you speak to? How do you get those inquiries? Where do you start from? And how do you make progress? And it will give you a good idea of the bigger picture of the business. And I'm going to put up a screen which will just summarize the basic points to start with on step 4, which are so the starting point really is we recommend you generate 50 leads each week, and the ratio, the basic starting ratio we use is when you get 50 inquiries a week, probably up to 10 of those people will be interested in finding out more. So you'll do maybe 10 appointments and then one person will join. So in order to get one person a week joining your business, we recommend you generate 50 inquiries each week, and we will certainly show you how to do that. It's a very easy thing to do these days. It's never been easier. But a key thing to understand is that this is an ongoing process, and as you build your business each year, the number of leads that you have compounds up because, as you'll see in a second, you can use those leads over and over again by using the system that we've developed. So it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a 2 to 5 year plan to build a database of 50,000 people by generating a minimum of 50 leads a week. And we recommend that part of the system must include a thing called a contact manager. Now, if you don't know what it is, don't worry. Your upline will explain it to you. But basically, it's a database. It's a data management system, so that when people respond to your advertising, they click on a link, they go through to your website, and then their data is stored in that database so that you can communicate with people on an ongoing basis, and that will give you massive momentum in your lead generation. And you build a database up each year. So if you did 50 a week for year 1, for example, at the end of year 1, you'd have 2,500 contacts in your database. And at the end of year 2, it would go to 5,000 and so on. But as time goes by, you can actually increase the numbers dramatically. So it actually compounds up so that over 5 years, you could certainly build a huge database of people, which will allow you to have people looking at your business all the time. So one of the things, the key principles then, is that we don't use telephone numbers, because if we use telephone numbers to advertise the business, there's no way of getting the people into the database effectively. So we always use websites or capture pages. Here's an example of one. They're very simple. This one has more detail than most, but all they usually say is work from home. And all we do is we capture the person's name, email address, and postcode usually. This one has details of the address, but you don't necessarily need all that information. What you do need is the name, email address, and contact number. And that information is then stored in your database, which means you can then contact them on an ongoing basis. Because this is network marketing, it's not telesales. Now, you can use those leads then on multiple occasions. So, for example, if someone inquires about my business now in January 2015, and they decide, well, it's not really for them at the moment, they don't feel able to commit to the process of building a business maybe at this time, so they decide not to proceed. That's quite normal. But we can then recontact those people periodically maybe every couple of months with a video marketing or broadcast marketing, which may cause them to have a second look and a third look and a fourth look. So we just drip feed people with stories, different developments in the business, and they may well join at a later point. And eventually what happens is, as your database grows, you'll have people coming to you, chasing you, asking you to join the business, which is fantastic. So that's some basic principles, but where do we actually start in terms of generating leads? Where would be a good place to get going with this? And we always encourage people to make a list of all the people you know. And the reason for that is it doesn't cost you anything. And it's the quickest and most effective way of building a network is to start with people you know. And these days, most people will have large numbers of contacts in their mobile phone. They will equally have probably even larger numbers of contacts through Facebook. But you'll also have perhaps work colleagues, people that you've worked with previously, people you're at college with, at school with, previous jobs. So the bottom line really is that you should make a list, as detailed a list as you possibly can, of everybody you know. And to give you an idea, you can look at things like, who would you send Christmas cards to? If you were going to have, if you're getting married, who would you invite to your wedding? Who did you invite to your wedding? If you already have a wedding list. If you're going to have a party in your house, who would you invite to the party? You should definitely promote the business to all of those people. And the golden rule is do not prejudge any of them, because you don't know who they know. So you may contact one of your friends who may not be interested in the business, but you don't necessarily have to ask them directly if they want to join. You can just ask them if they know anybody else who would be interested in making extra income. So the key thing is to build a list, ideally of about 200 people, because you don't know who those 200 people might lead you to. That's the place to start, is to make a list of everybody you know. Now, it's also important to understand that we just use the tools. We're not in the process of trying to persuade people or convince people to join. So all we do initially on the first exposure is just send them a message. So you could text this message, you could email this message, you could certainly private message people on Facebook and say, hi, John, this is Neil. Have a look at this 15-minute video at www.webslide.biz. I found it really exciting. I'd love to know what you really think. Now, that's just one example of how you could make an initial approach to expose someone to the business. And they will then watch the opportunity video, and you could ask them to text you back, or you could follow up with them. So it's a good idea to send a message of that type, but to every single person that you know, because as I mentioned earlier, it may be they're not interested, but they might know someone who's just been made redundant, for example, or they might have a partner who's not working, or it could. So it's not necessary to introduce them directly; it's who they know. That's the key. So we recommend that you post that message to your Facebook friends. Definitely send out text messages, and you can also send out very standard text messages saying, "Hi, I've just started running a business online. Who do you know would be interested in making an extra 300 to 500 a month?" And you'll get people text you back, say, I'm interested. This is the first exposure of the business. Now, and of course, you can also email people as well. Key thing here, though, is don't work alone. And you're given, when you join the business, a business coach, a sponsor, who is more experienced than you, knows more about the business than you, and has probably done all this before. So it makes a lot of sense, because two heads are better than one, to work with your upline, because they can show you the right scripts to use when you're approaching people on the telephone, when you're following up these inquiries, and they can also tell you exactly what's likely to happen. And it's a really good idea to do a Skype call with your upline when you're contacting those people. And it's also really important to understand about contacting your warm list, or your contact list as it's known, that it's an ongoing process. It's not a one-off event. So if you joined very recently into the business and you're starting to build a team and you approach friends, family, work colleagues, people on Facebook, don't be surprised if they don't join, this month. That's not a problem actually, because people join when they're ready to join, but it's an ongoing process that you're going to repeat on many times. Now, a good book to read about this subject is Go Pro by Eric Worre, the first book, which is in your business kit. And also Beach Money deals with the same thing. There are scripts in Go Pro, but you can read Go Pro by Eric Worre and Beach Money by Jordan Adler. And there are scripts and really good ideas in both books. But the key thing to understand is that this is a long-term project. So when we talk about contacting people, if you contact someone, for example, who may have just had a promotion at work, they're probably not looking to start up a business and earn extra income, because they might just have had their promotion they've been working for maybe a couple of years. So the timing may not be right. So the key thing is to understand that people join your business when the time is right for them. Now, that could be now. There will be people that join now, but there'll also be people that might join in 3 months because they want to see how well you do. They might join in a year from now, 18 months from now, 5 years from now. So it's an ongoing process, and we don't sort of badger people and pester people to join. We just drip feed people, and then they come back to us when the time is right for them, when their circumstances change. And people's circumstances often change. People get made redundant. People get fed up with being fed up. They get fed up with being sick and tired of being sick and tired and not having money in the bank. And as your business grows, they will come back to you. So it's very important not to burn your bridges with anyone if they maybe are not positive about the business that you're in. That's fine, but that doesn't mean that will be the case in 6 months from now. So just accept that people join when the time is right for them. So once we've completed the process of building a list and contacting people on that list, we also recommend that you advertise and promote the business to as many people as possible that you don't know. And the way that we reach people these days usually is through the internet. And you need to have an idea of how all that works and how the contact manager works. And we have a thing called an introduction to sponsoring session, which is in the workbook, and your upline will go through that with you. It takes about an hour on Skype to explain all the various things you need to do to get up and running. And you can ask about joining your upline's advertising pool. All of your upline leaders will be involved in ad pools. And the big advantage of joining an ad pool is that we're able to buy much lower costing advertising than if you buy it individually yourself. I'm not saying don't buy individually, but I would definitely speak to your upline first, because you might find the cost per lead is only £1 a lead. Anywhere near £1 a lead is fantastic. Whereas if you buy it yourself, you may pay a lot more than that. So don't spend money without seeking advice first. But we do recommend you join an ad pool, and that will enable you to generate the 50 leads a week you need as a starting point. But as I mentioned earlier, the 50 leads is a minimum. And these days you can advertise on social networks, and there's free advertising sites you can use. So in some cases people can get double and treble the 50 leads a week. So it's certainly not a limit. Now, once you have got people responding to advertising, they go into your contact manager, into your database, and then you can do a number of things. You can do things like video marketing these days, where we send out very short video testimonials to people in the database. So if someone inquires about the business in January and they don't join, in June of the same year, they may watch a video and they may relate to the person in the video more than they relate to you. So they may join your business 6 months down the line, but we know that people join after a series of information. So sometimes it could be as many as 9 different pieces of information that they've received over perhaps a year or 18 months or even longer. So what the database data management contact manager system allows us to do is to drip feed people with ongoing information about the business. So for example, the business has changed fundamentally. in recent months because we now operate a lot more online retailing. So it's entirely likely that people that looked at the business 3 months ago and thought, oh, they don't want to go out delivering catalogs, may well now join because they realize they can do it online. So that's why the data management is very important. So you can see examples of broadcasts in your contact manager. And again, you can ask your sponsor about this, but we have a library of video casts in there. There's lots of clean, easy testimonials, success testimonials in that video library, and you can send those out to people quite easily. And again, work with your upline because they will have examples of email broadcasts and video broadcasts. Now, as we go through, one of the things that we need to do is measure our performance in terms of what we're doing with all the inquiries that we're getting. And it's certainly the case that you can't manage what you don't measure. So we need to be clear about how many leads are we actually getting. How many people are we speaking to? We've said get 50 a week, but how many people do we actually speak to each week? This is like a key thing, because it's okay to generate the leads and we might be quite busy on the telephone, but we need to really track and record how many conversations we have, because what we're aiming to do is have 50 conversations a week, get 10 appointments a week to get one person joining. Now in the workbook you have a tracker, and you just need to record by using bar gates in your tracker those conversations as you have them. And what that will enable you to do is to assess your effectiveness on the telephone, which is step 5. The basic model is 50-10-1, as I've mentioned, but in reality, as time goes by, your figures will improve and your abilities will grow to match the goals that you've set. But we do need to measure our performance, a bit like an athlete. If an athlete was going to go and run a marathon, they would do lots of training and they would time the times that they achieved when they were running. And it's a bit like that. We have to measure our performance each week, each month, to see how we're doing. So if we're getting 50 leads a week and we're only getting 3 appointments a week, it probably means that we're not performing as well as we might do on the telephone. So we may need to do some work on the telephone. Or it could be we're getting loads of appointments but no one's joining, in which case we might need to look at step 6. So it tells you where you need to improve. So tracking your business is very, very important, and as it says here, do use the tracker in the workbook for that purpose. But the key thing is to give yourself time to develop in the business, and most people develop competence over 3 to 6 months, but your performance will certainly improve as your confidence grows. And this subject is covered really well by Jim Rohn, the late great Jim Rohn, and there's a disc that you can get called Building Your Network Marketing Business, which covers this very subject. But that is basically the essence of step 4. So it's lead generation, which we do now mainly through advertising online, using free advertising, your upline advertising pool, and there are also various sources. Speak to your upline about that. But it's not difficult to generate 50 to 100 to 150 leads a week and get lots of people looking at the opportunity videos, and then you've just got to track your progress as you follow up those inquiries and follow the system involved. So that's basically step 4, which is lead generation and know your numbers. And couple of things: have regular weekly reviews with your upline when you start buying leads. Make sure that you get your upline to phone some of your very initial inquiries. Make sure you watch your upline, for a couple of hours on the telephone. But your upline will show you how you can access the leads. But there's lots of sources of leads these days online. You can use companies like Big Advertising, Private Eye, Advert Anywhere. There are lots of them out there. But the first port of call should always be your upline, because your upline may have an ad pool going where the cost and the quality of the leads is better than some of the other companies that are out there. So just get advice from someone who's building a business, who's having success, and has people joining their team. And with that, that's the end of step 4. The next step is what to say to people when you've got those inquiries coming in, and that's covered by step 5, which is next. Thank you very much. Step up.